Hey, we got mics working tonight.
Welcome, everyone, Armchair Chirpers, episode 57. And for our little blip on Monday, with all the feedback that we got, we thought, well, we better put a little something together because people were looking forward to certain aspects of the episode. So here we are in a special edition of a Wednesday night Armchair Chirpers. Thanks, everyone, for joining us and the usual suspects on the panel. Razor, Holly, Les. Thanks so much for coming in. And we just wanted to give one more shout out to the great band that welcomes us in every week, the Small Town Strip Club. Lead singer John was just in to get a little brush up before they were on their way out to Vancouver and Kelowna for a couple gigs this weekend. And
looking tight.
That's
awesome.
Holly popped in at the same time, so we had a little conversation, and man, they are pumped. So we wish them the best of luck.
Yeah.
On their tour out west.
Knock 'em dead, boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kelowna, Vancouver.
And I think that was it. So there was a place out in Vancouver that is exactly like the legendary Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto, where they're going to be playing.
I missed that place.
So great opportunities for those guys. So as Razor says, go get them, boys. We'd also just like to acknowledge our great friends at Reboot Repair, Stratford's best computer support and services, personalized IT solutions, hardware, software repairs, on-site, and business services. And I would just wanted to mention, after a year of business, I've actually been hearing amazing testimonials from just even people sitting in my chair who have used their expertise. If you're looking for an opportunity to connect with them, feel free to drop down to their bricks and mortar at 155 Erie Street in Stratford.
All right. And before we get too far, General Don MacArthur turned 80 on Monday.
Happy belated.
Happy birthday, General.
Yes.
Everybody comes over and sees us and they go, "That's the General. I never knew his name was Don MacArthur. It's the General." Happy birthday, buddy.
Doesn't he look good for an 80-year-old
Oh, he
man?
does.
He
Yeah.
looks good for a 50-year-old man, to be honest with you. I'm a little
Right.
envious,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah. It's all that clean living.
Living vicariously through his billets, sorry.
The old bullseye.
Nice. Before we get too deep, isn't this a great time of the year though?
Oh, yeah.
NHL playoffs coming up soon.
Around the corner.
GOJHL playoffs, Irish playoffs, and tomorrow
And
baseball starts again.
Happy
Right.
opening day eve
Yes.
to everyone.
Yes.
For those Blue Jay fans, the first pitch is at 3:07 tomorrow afternoon. Looking forward to it. They got
Baltimore?
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Baltimore in
Against the
town.
Baltimore
set,
Glory
yeah.
Holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's only 162 games, so make sure you catch a few games.
It sounds like there's a few tickets available. So
Well, you want to
whatever.
catch tomorrow's because Fridays apparently is on Apple TV.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
So
What a
it
way to
begins
kick
right
it
off.
away.
Good.
And the
Good.
Jays were complaining as loud as anybody. It was
Yeah.
a league mandated thing. Before you get mad at the Jays, and there'll be plenty of reason to do that before the summer's over.
Yeah.
It's a league mandated second game of the year because one thing I found when I was season ticket holder is that everyone's excited about game one. It's splendor and big shows and fancy guests and big flags and all that stuff. And then game two is like 1,200 people and hot dog day.
It's true.
Nobody ever goes to game two.
Looney Tuesday.
Do we want to go around the table quick for a quick prediction of the Jays season?
I'll start. They're not going to make the playoffs.
Okay. Any win total that you would predict?
They're going to be just at 500, I think.
Okay.
Maybe.
I think the best record in the AL is going to be 92 wins. And based on that, I think Toronto, who will blow up in years to come, I think they will sneak in a wild card spot this year.
Okay. Wow. Win total?
87.
87. Okay. Mine's short and sweet. I have him at 82, which puts him around 500. I don't
Pretty
think
much.
Scherzer, people are really excited about him. If you see him in 12 games, we'll be fortunate.
The Scherzer thing is the thumb.
Yeah.
It's all to do with
Yeah.
that thumb. The
Yeah.
thumb
For
and the
now.
nerve, right?
And next month it'll be the hammy, and the month after that it'll be, it's nothing
Yeah.
serious. It's just old man stuff, right? Having said that,
Wow.
you get Max healthy or anywhere near healthy, he still has one of the best sliders in baseball. He's got an A++ changeup, even though the gas is down to about 92 or 93.
Yeah. But so there's that, and that's all I'll say about the Jays at this point. You?
I would like to say that they're going to make the playoffs, but I just see an implosion. Now, there's been rumors that they're working on fine-tuning the details on signing Guerrero. I read that this morning. So if they don't sign Guerrero, I think it's just going to be an absolute gong show. Bichette wants out. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be lucky to win 79 games this year. They got a great pitching staff if they can stay healthy.
And their bullpen has improved.
Bullpen has
Yeah.
really improved.
Swanson's having some more trouble. We'll be happy
Yeah.
to get him back.
Yeah,
Right.
But Hoffman's a huge signing.
but you've got
Getting
issues.
Garcia back.
You've got issues with Springer. Guerrero's just going to be such a cloud over their head. If they get him signed and he's playing well, great. But if they don't get him signed, he's won like 577. They're talking about him being the third highest paid guy behind Ohtani and Soto. So
I will say this, though. Contract years. Never underestimate the power of a contract year.
I get you.
And Bo, I tell you what, if you haven't seen Bo hit this spring, he looks like the
Yeah.
old Bo.
yeah.
And he's in a contract year, too. All the
Yep.
pressure's on him to perform.
Exactly.
So whether he has any interest or not, like I said, after this season, yeesh. But this season, with the bullpen help they got, their starting rotation is as good as anybody's. Add to that the amount of talent that has gone from the junior circuit to the senior circuit, like Soto, gone to the Mets. Okay, Houston, they lost Presley and Kyle Tucker. And then look at the Yankees again. They lost
Cole.
They
He's
lost
done.
Cole he's done
Yeah.
for the year. So I mean, when you look at the injuries, the fact that Baltimore lost a bunch of pitching as well, they
Yeah.
lost Corbin Burns. Boston has beefed up, but it's hard to really gel in one season. So Toronto's got to. I mean, if not Toronto, why not Toronto? They could actually win the division with 87 wins.
Always appreciating your observations, Holly. What are your hopes and dreams for Bowden Francis this year in the number 5?
Well, sustainability is always the toughest challenge in Major League Baseball. He finished so strong last year, flirted with no-hitters. So it's the same thing as if you have a Korean or Japanese pitcher come over the first time around the league. They've got some pitch that nobody's seen before. All you've got is film. Once these guys face, nobody is better at adjusting in major sports than baseball hitters. Yeah. And so once you've seen Bowden Francis 2 or 3 times, then we'll see. But I like what I see, and keeping in mind he's a number 5 starter.
Yeah.
All you need is, I mean, if he's 500, then that's a win.
Yep.
And what if Manoah miraculously comes back late in the summer, right?
He's a wild card as well.
He really
definitely.
is, yeah.
So, but like I said, getting Swanson back into the bullpen because you got Garcia, you got Hoffman, you got Zach Pop, you got a few guys down there who can throw the ball hard. They've got strikeout, swing and miss guys. The guy they picked up from the Mets, I keep forgetting his name. He was an under-the-radar signing. Their bullpen is recovered from a bad year last year. We're going to miss Romano. He's going to turn out being the closer in Philly.
He was hurt, though, all last year.
Yeah, I know
right?
that. But when he's healthy, he's still...
He is.
He just falls in love with that slider.
Yeah,
And like the guy throws... I've seen him throw 98, 99, but he falls in love with that slider. He seems to start every 3 out of 4 hitters off with sliders, and I'd be sitting on it personally.
Yep. Yeah. Start them off balance, right? But if they're expecting it... Because you say he's consistent in throwing that first pitch... And, there's lots of opportunity and consistency that batters can feast on that. If
nobody frames a plate like Kirk, and they got him locked up for, 5 years?
And nobody finishes a plate like Kirk.
Hey, that's a good one.
Love it.
Ladies
He's
and
off to a
gentlemen.
good start.
Yeah.
Brian Holly.
You know what we call him, right?
Yeah.
Tubby Custard is what we call him. Tubby Custard.
Are they going to raise a banner tomorrow? They won spring training.
Well,
I saw that and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It is Mark Shapiro's last year. He's in a contract year, so
We'll see.
Like I said,
if everything
we'll
implodes,
see.
him and Atkins can shove off.
it's just a weird winter where they loaded up for this year and have seemingly nothing going on beyond this year. Like they only have, other than Barrios, they don't have anybody signed past 26.
Yeah.
And so, when you look, you got Gossman and all those guys on starting pitching, but one's, Bassett, sorry, thank you. And he's
Who
done
I
this
like.
year. He's on a contract year.
Yeah.
And Gossman's done next year.
Yeah.
And Max is only here for 1 year.
Right.
So, like I said, and then if they don't sign either one of those guys, and I'll be the most shocked person on the planet if they sign Vladdy, because now you've come this far, why wouldn't you test free agency?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the other thing, too, about having Vladdy on a contract year is he's on a contract year, and he's going to be fully focused all year long. And I don't care how many base running mistakes he makes when he knocks 2 balls at 110 miles an hour a game.
What's unbelievable, and I was down in Clearwater when it happened, but when Bryce Harper announced that he was leaving Washington and he was going to become a UFA, and he ended up signing with the Phillies for $330 million. Like, that was ridiculous numbers. Now it's
cheap.
It is cheap, right? And they've got him locked up for a few more years, but
it's hard to think of him as a 33-year-old player. You remember? I mean, he came up as an 18-year-old,
right?
And had all those foibles with the reporters. That's a clown question.
I saw a video of him when he was in high school, and he was putting him in the top level at Tampa Bay Stadium. Like, he was just unbelievable at such a young age.
That's why he was in the majors at 18.
Right.
He's an earlier version of Soto.
Yeah.
All right, for some of the other guys out there, before we get to the hockey, Chris Jessel and Shanker and that, we were talking. Galen Perkins of Tennessee Lady Vols threw a 78.3 mile an hour fastball in a softball game the other day, which
I saw the video.
they
and,
said it attains to about 103 miles an hour from a baseball
'cause
mound.
was it 40,
Yeah.
45 or 48
45,
feet?
45,
45, yeah.
She's tall and lanky.
Yeah.
Like, she's just got that whip in the arm.
That's the fastest ever recorded in the NCAA. That's
And
wild.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy speed.
Especially if she's wide. Like, that thing was right at the bottom of the strike zone. But if you get hit by that thing. Oh, yeah.
The size of it leaves a 2-foot hole coming out the back of you.
right.
Jeez.
Well, where do we go?
Oh,
Right into the GOJHL?
Well, we got these
Right?
awesome first round of the Go playoffs.
Oh,
Right?
man.
how was Stratford like in having that sweep? They started off in game 1, not playing their best.
The young kids had to get their feet wet, and that's what I think it was.
Well, I think we said
Doogie
it last
kept them,
week,
yeah.
did we not? I mean, they
Yeah.
got that first game in, and the McDougall playing so well in game 1
Yeah.
gave them, emboldened the young players on the team, and they looked fantastic the rest
Yep,
of the series.
like-
There wasn't
Yes.
any doubt, And again, as I mentioned before, the series, sometimes every once in a while I'm right, but it was a dream matchup for them. It really was.
Carter McDougall, game 1 and game 2, kept them in the game 1. That was he was the reason they were able to hold on and win those games. He wasn't needed as much in game 3 and game 4, but he was positionally perfect.
As always, he's always there. And like I said, the next test, if it truly is, the next test is going to be Chatham. You know what I mean?
It's probably going to be that way because it's 3-1 now. But getting back to Doogie, he's the number 1 goalie in the playoffs so far with a .955 save percentage. You have 2 rookies, Kipfer and Slattery, that are both tied for 6th in scoring. They lead the Warriors in scoring with 2 goals and 3 assists. They've got 5 points. Schmidt leads the team with 2 power play goals. But I'm just so impressed. Like you brought it up there when we were watching Game 3 with Slattery. Like just how he was just playing him and Nagy and Long. And I was out for breakfast Sunday morning before the team went to LaSalle for Game 4, and I saw Coach Willie and Coach Slitt, and was talking to them. And they said to me, like, I went up to them and I said, hey, good luck today. And I said, just wanted to let you know, Jeff and I both agreed what a great game Slattery played in Game 3. And Willie looked at me and he said, Razor, he said, I went up to him in the middle of Game 2. And I said to him, look, we need more out of you. Like, there's guys that are hurt, and I just know there's more in the tank. And he said, that little conversation. So there you've got a veteran coach knowing when to push buttons and getting the most out of a rookie because, he's trying to absorb everything on the fly. You've got a goalie standing on his head, keeping you in the game the first 2 games. And then a guy like Slattery taking heat off of, Jonas and Louis, and it just feels good. And now they're playing with the house money as they wait for, it's probably going to be Chatham, but they're now playing with the house money.
So if there's one benefit to not getting to many games is you see the progression of players throughout the season. I was at a game in November, I think, and when we went to Game 3 in Stratford here, and just to kind of go a little further with what you're saying, Slattery, Kipfer, and Cole Lewis were on a line, and man, were they fun to watch.
Yeah.
Slattery was possessed that game. I don't think I've seen such an impact on such a young player in that league in a long time, along with Kipfer. But those players were, everything that you could ask for. And Schlitt came into the shop the next morning, and I said, just my opinion, but I think you got a complete game out of your squad last night. And he goes, couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
They were so happy with that performance in Game 3.
Yep.
And like you alluded to too, Les, like it was just the little details. No shots were getting through. They were being smart after the whistles. A few little altercations, but keeping it disciplined. McDougall wasn't heavily tested, but he didn't need to be. So you know what? It's okay to kind of, and I don't say this in a disrespectful way to LaSalle, but he didn't have the night off, but he had a lighter night
Yep.
in the cage. So that, that helps that. Jonas Schmidt, you can't say enough about that kid. He leads out there. Lou Wilson had a big game. The defenseman Bogart.
Yeah,
Heath
Bogart.
Bogart.
Oh my gosh,
Big
My
presence out
gosh.
there that game. Anyways, I'm going to ramble here, but just a great overall effort in Game 3. I know that
Yeah.
you guys have seen all 4, so I'll let you guys continue. But I was so impressed with how they came out, and I had Clarkie's voice in the back of my head because when they came out, scored less than 2 minutes in, and then they were up 2-0. What does Clarkie say? He goes, "That's the message from the management and coaching. If you can go in on a Friday night and get on the visiting team early, they're going to be out of it."
Yeah.
One guy in the series, Hunter Nagy's playing on a different level than everybody else.
Yeah.
Game 4, tough break right at the beginning of the game. First shift takes a shot off the skate, and skate was not the same for the rest of the game. He was livid after the game. I thought he was injured a bit, but he said no. He said it's a stupid skate. He said he took a shot and it broke the blade and couldn't get it right from there on in, and it's just one of those things, right? He just threw him off his game, but he had a phenomenal series. I said to the general after the win Sunday, I gave the series MVP to Doogie because he was really the difference in those first 2 games.
Yeah.
Honorable mention to Hunter Nagy because that early goal he scored in Game 3 was huge.
Yeah.
That was
Wilson's big
huge.
goal in
Yeah.
Game
3.
one.
Or
It's
1.
game
Yeah,
one.
Isn't
game 1.
playoff beauty? Like, how many goals did he have in the regular season?
'Cause-
1?
Yeah.
And he,
Yeah.
but I read up on him a little bit, and that he's actually got now 3 career playoff
Playoff
goals.
goals,
Like
yep.
he's got as many playoff goals as regular season
regular,
goals.
yeah.
And it's just, isn't that, sometimes you see those guys in playoffs that just come out of nowhere. They just, the red light goes on and they perform. It's so good to see it. He's a good
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
and a big,
He got hurt there in Game 2 in LaSalle. Him and I think it was Stewart for LaSalle. I'm not sure, but they collided over in the far corner right across from us. And I swear the table shook when these 2 guys hit each other. And he just wasn't the same after that, which was, he's sat the last 2 games. But this break gives them a chance to get healthy.
Like and even like with Hodge, another rookie. Like
Drew
just
Hodge is most improved player all year.
Schooley playing, I don't want to say it, but he's got a lower body injury, which most people wouldn't even dream of trying to play. And Willie told me that Schooley was playing there Sunday down in LaSalle.
He gave it his best. He didn't play all game, but he
Yeah.
gave it his best. And, a kid like that's just all heart, right?
I love it. I love it. And, talking with his dad, Scrooge, he says I'd be doing the same thing, so I can't tell him not to play. Yeah. But he's, folks, if he wasn't in his last year of junior hockey, most people would be under the knife right now.
yeah,
But
I was thinking the same thing. If he wasn't 20, he's probably not.
exactly. Yeah.
And it's tough, but there's a lot of kids that have been playing really well. Like Heath Bogart, he made that play in Stratford that stopped that breakaway without taking a penalty.
Exactly.
Like that's a game
Like he
changer.
caught the guy.
He
The
caught
guy had a stride or 2 on him. He chased him down, and you're right. The guy didn't even get a shot on Doogie.
Yeah.
Now he was an AP, but still, that was a great
This-
defensive play by him.
This is also the kid that told me he scored the overtime goal in the one tournament he went to. He said he had his eyes closed when he scored it. But just the plays he makes. The young defense is fabulous in Stratford.
And I know I only have Game 3 to refer to personally for being there live, but another one that stuck out was Green.
Oh, Aaron Green.
Yeah.
His
His growth this year has been impressive.
Really, just very. The thing about the D in Stratford is and it's probably pretty hard to get consistent with these young players, quote unquote teenagers, discipline, and they don't overcommit. They don't get a whole leave themselves vulnerable a lot of the time, at least in Game 3 that I saw. And hats off to that whole D team on the Warriors that night, including Doogie, especially, and of course the forwards and that. But I think the D, it was a shutout.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think it was all warranted. I mean, they were diving in front of shots, and they were keeping them to the perimeter. They were doing all the fundamentals that makes it extremely tough for the other team to penetrate into to get a scoring opportunity. So hats off, guys.
It's not a stat we track, and I wish, after this series, I wish they would have, but block shots Stratford had
Yeah.
a ton of them over all 4 games.
Yeah.
Just getting in the way of everything. Aaron Green took a beating in game 2 in LaSalle. He blocked 2 shots and then got railroaded into the boards. No call, no nothing. He's out in front of the net on all 4s, but he gets up, skates off, comes right back next shift. And this is a kid that'll do anything. Like they needed a
Where's he in his
forward.
career, Les?
First
This
year.
first
He's in
year.
Is he
07.
rookie?
He's in 07.
He looks fantastic
Yeah.
out there.
And this was
Fantastic.
a kid that said, "Hey, we need a forward. He'll go up and play forward."
Yeah.
You know, he did it in Waterloo and got hurt. You know, and he does it in the playoffs, and then power play time, he'll come back and play defense. Like
Yeah.
when you have a kid like that on your team that's just willing to do whatever you ask him, you know, it's great to see.
Well, the Willie Temple practices are paying off
Oh.
because these guys are looking fantastic.
Well,
Yeah,
this is
he's-
what we've seen really in the last month or 2 of the season. These defensemen, they don't have an Evely, they don't have a Van Netten, you know, but they have a collection of 6 very serviceable, and there are variables in their abilities. You know, Wilson's a big guy that can play it physical. They got guys that can move the puck. They got guys that are really mobile. The guys that will go into the corner and win battles.
I mean, we haven't even mentioned Curtin.
yeah,
He's
Curtin
just
and Campbell are the steady pair.
100%.
And-
Sorry to interrupt, Brian.
No,
Yeah.
that's all right. It's
And-
just like I said, this is just what I've seen. I've seen them play 10 or 12 times this year, and that's what I've noticed. They were a concern a little bit at the start of the year, but they have grown together.
Yeah.
And again, they don't have like they have their 1 and 2 pairing, but they
Yeah.
aren't, like I said, they don't have a
They're not
top 3
absolute
guy.
studs.
They don't
Yeah.
have a top 3 guy, but they don't have a flaw in their core, and that is really necessary because that way you know you can throw any one of them out in any given situation.
Yeah.
Power plays, penalty kill, late in the game, all situational stuff, all kinds of fun stuff. So
You can tell Curtin and Campbell have played together all year because they don't even look at each other and they know where they are. Like, and that's a camaraderie that is very important going into the next series against whoever they see. But man, like Curtin, it's just cool, calm, collective, and then Campbell's the same. And then I think that would be the byproduct of these young rookies who are in the D as well. Just they lead by example, those guys, and I think it's absolutely contagious to what how they're beginning to play.
Yeah, and with Wilson out of the lineup, Matthew Blake stepped up big in the last 2 games.
Absolutely.
For a big kid. He played well. His dad was standing beside us there Sunday. Very impressed with the way he stepped up,
Stratford?
took the body. Yep.
What Blake's
No,
that?
he's came from St. Thomas. And
St.
trade
Thomas.
deadline.
Okay.
yeah, that's I'm a little surprised that he wasn't in the lineup to begin with because I thought he was a big ad for them at the deadline. But so it's nice to have a 7th guy to be able to step in and play if you get one guy injured, and that is, you know, we all know injuries happen in the playoffs. Nobody's got to tell them Warriors that's for sure.
Well, and like you guys had talked about before, like I think the key, barring a miracle comeback by Elmira, you're staring right at Chatham, and like Chatham loves doing the run and gun, and their goaltending has been suspect. Like Gannon Hunter has not performed very well. Like and then
Chatham likes to run a gun with everybody but Stratford.
yeah, well because Stratford
all year it was close.
Like Stratford prevented almost 50 more goals they saved. Like Stratford had 107 goals against them in the regular season. Chatham had 151, like almost 50 goals less.
Having said that, I believe Chatham scored about 50 goals more than Stratford. so-
Actually, more than that. They're
So
about
they're-
70
well, they're
goals.
number 1 in the league, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so
Is that what they were, Holly? They're number 1.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
number 1 in the league, and so it's a really interesting. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We still got to talk about that series yet, but
Yeah.
that is just a fascinating matchup based on one of the top scoring teams against one of the top defensive teams.
So they,
Yeah.
they released the season records by team the other day, and we'll get to St. Mary's, but that might take an hour.
Yeah, if we could skip over the highlights with St. Mary's.
So Stratford ended up setting 4 franchise records in the GOJHL. So that,
which only goes back to
16,
13.
13, 7, no, something like that. I don't know, back then.
It doesn't go all the way back to 85.
Doesn't go back to 85.
It doesn't go back to Razor leading the league and the doors opened.
So 107 goals allowed.
You got to look long and hard to beat that record, let me tell you. So.
So the team records, 107 goals allowed, bested their previous record from 18-19 of 117. 4 overtime wins, which I didn't really notice we had 4 overtime wins, but that was 2016, 17, 18, 19. They tied that. Player records. This was interesting to me. Carter McDougall is going to finish his career in Stratford with a 2.18 goals against average, which is betters Tyler Parr by almost 7 points.
Yeah.
And Chase Furlong with 5 shutouts as a rookie beats the record by 2 guys, Burley and that 2. I only had 2, but that's decent year. Carter McDougall is just underrated.
Yeah,
in a lot of places.
and he's got an axe to grind, right? Like St. Mary's let him go, and now
The list will let him go.
Well, was he with St. Mary's?
St.
Then he went to List?
St. Mary's, and then he went to Listowel.
He was in
Okay.
St. Mary's for a cup of coffee. That was about it.
Gotcha.
He had a rough game. I remember the game. I was there,
Yep.
and he didn't look comfortable at all, and they got rid of him right away, which I thought was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. But they were a team that were just like this year. They were a team that were looking long-term, and they didn't think he was the answer, which was a shock because not only did they only give him 1 game, but he was a local kid. He's from
Right,
St. Mary's. You know what I
right.
mean? And then you look, and there's a McDougall playing for St. Mary's again this
Right.
year.
Yeah.
His brother. And so, and if he's got that axe to grind, if that's a motivation, then, what the heck, why not? Whatever it takes to get motivated.
Yeah, the Friday game with the shutout, he was mad about the Wednesday game in LaSalle because he was up. They were up 5-1, and then there was a phantom goal that never crossed the line, never went in. Hit the crossbar and went out, and he was, he skates over to the glass where I'm standing. He's going. I go. I don't know. I can't. I didn't see it go in at all. Like we're still waiting for it
Or
to cross
yell
the
at
line.
the refs.
Or yell at the refs. But so he was going like he goes, that just affects the goalie stat. I said, yeah, that'll burn you for one.
I
right?
tell you what, though, I did giggle a little bit because they're playing such a good game. They're dominating. They're up 5-1, and, a goal goes in, and it was late. What was there, 4 or 5 minutes left in the game? And, none of the talk was about how good they played or how they scored 5 goals. It's all about this phantom goal, which, I could hear it. We talked about that, the sound of the post,
Yeah.
the crossbar.
Yep.
There was,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
was that now? Was that? We just saw that goal, didn't we?
Uh,
But it made the front goal post or crossbar makes one noise, and the back one makes it a little thuddier noise.
yeah, well, because it's not as thick. It's a
Right.
smaller pipe at the back.
And so, that was, sorry, you weren't there. That was Tilbury. We had one of those goals in Tilbury. It was Matt Henderson scoring a shorthanded goal. I'll get to that.
No wonder I wasn't
No, I
putting
thought-
it
I thought
together.
Razor remembers everything.
In fairness,
It's really awkward.
I saw 9 hockey games in 8 nights in 5 different cities, so it's a little bit of a blur.
Apology accepted.
Yes.
So yeah, good on Stratford. They got the sweep is so important, confidence wise, rest wise, heal up wise. You know what I mean? There's a couple of guys who block shots that are feeling the worst for it. So, all is well in Stratford as far as the first round goes. It was a dream matchup, and they played fantastic from the goalie out. The coaches had them prepared, and they move on. So
Yeah, and now you'll get into the rest versus rust argument. I don't think there's going to be any rust. It's going to be because the way Dave Williams works them in practice, it's going to be great. Another big highlight from Sunday was Dennis Williams on the broadcast. That was a fabulous interview. He could have talked for the rest of the game. He came on in the first intermission, and he analyzed the whole first period, which was great. And Dave had gotten to an animated argument with the referee, and Dave gets going sometimes, and he'll get the head tilt going, and Dennis says, I get in a lot more trouble when I do that tilt. Because I don't know how he got away with it. But Dennis was just a fabulous interview. We hope to connect with him on here. It sounds like it's going to be a lot more possible now, but he just talked about everything and anything and just willing to talk. He just loves the game.
Quite the portfolio. And for those of you who are maybe not familiar with him, he's got a gold medal with our Canadian junior team.
2 of them.
At the Christmas tournament, 2 of them. He was at the Silver Tips in the WHL GM coach for a handful of years.
Yeah, started off as coach and then put the GM,
With the GM
moniker in.
He was with Newman
College in
He was-
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and so he's got a very bona fide resume, and now he finds himself back at Bowling Green, where he played his college career.
Yep.
Yeah.
And apparently, from what I hear, it's been completely revamped, courtesy of him and his knowledge and focuses and the people who he's brought in. So
Absolutely.
and on top of all of that, he's a Stratford native.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I found out, he coached at the Lincoln tournament too.
Did he?
I did not know that. He had Connor Bedard at the Lange and the World Juniors.
Okay. I didn't know about the U18, but I knew obviously about the World Junior.
Yeah.
And also him being one of the top 50
Yep.
Culleton Warriors of all time.
We
with
talked.
his
We talked about his career here, and we talked about his penalty minutes, and he said, "Yeah, they probably counted 10 minutes of misconducts back then because he would have had a lot of them."
Oh, yeah.
He said he was a chirpy.
Yeah.
Well, and he was with the, and I know that Anderson and Schmidt may cringe a bit, but it's probably a bit legendary line that they had.
Absolutely.
Between Dennis Williams, Colin Schmidt, and Eric Anderson, who accumulated 378 points in one season between the three of them,
It's
which
mind-boggling.
is still a Junior B record. And again, we've talked about how the league's changed. You don't go into Oswego and get a 15-2 win anymore. But still, with that being said, it's incredibly impressive.
Nobody else in the league did it that year.
No,
Right?
exactly.
Right.
So
And one of the things Dennis said, and I never even thought of it, he goes, he was much more comfortable playing on Colin's line than Colin chasing him around when Colin was in Waterloo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah,
he said they had a couple run-ins when they were on opposite teams.
It's just so cool, and I think that that's one of the valid benefits of this show that we have, and you know, the connections that we've made and the stories that are told and the reconnections of, you know, players past and all that. So I know that our listeners are really appreciating that aspect of this show too. So just so that you guys know, we are really working diligently on really polishing that up and cultivating more opportunities so that we can we have the phone aspect now that we can use. So that opens up a whole new opportunity for us too. So we're going to keep going with that.
Just the amount of positive feedback with the guys that we've had on. Hey, could you have this guy on? He was telling some great stories. Like when Devo was on, Devo said, you know, I had so many more stories to tell, but he didn't want to hog all the airtime from Andy and Schmitty. But it, you know, like we've had great comments about Bully and Paul Barton and all these guys that have been coming on, like you know,
Cassoni and Bully. Yeah, so you said that.
Yeah, and so it's just, you know, really humbling that our viewers have showed so much interest in telling old stories. Like I had Spud McIntosh there Friday at the game telling me, man, I didn't know that Jim Hughes was the father of, you know, the three in the NHL. Like it's just great going down memory lane, right?
Sure.
So,
and the infamous Gary Ray Reuter episode 17. I still think that's one of our highest
right?
listen.
That was a great one.
That was good.
That was
Because I remember when we asked them to do it, I had sent Gary a message. I said, he goes, yeah. I said, it's just like talking. And he goes, okay, I'll do it. And everybody always said to me, you know, Gary will talk his head off because he never met a microphone he didn't like, right? And Reuter, that was fabulous. That just really took off from there.
That was a new chapter of
that turned the show
now.
Well, it just kind of it changed the trajectory because it just kind of showed that there are people that like to hear stories from yesterday, right? And you know, whether you're talking about, you know, Dave Cassoni, right? Like, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you can tell a good story, people will listen.
Do you know what I love the most about the Dave Cassoni story is I saw him at the Irish game and just how much fun and how much he enjoyed being on the show. And he goes, it's funny because as soon as, you know, the microphone goes on and you start telling a story, he goes, all the nerves are gone. And they just start pouring out. And he said he could have sat here for a couple days and just how much he enjoyed it, how much he loved reconnecting with Bully. Like he hadn't seen him forever in 2 days.
Yeah, it was almost 40 years.
Yeah. So, you know, even those types of things and, you know, the people that were really appreciative of seeing again, like Schmitty, Andy, and DeVries on. Anyways, without going in circles, we're really appreciating the feedback. And just, again, we're going to be working diligently to pull some more shows together in that manner, and one of which hopefully is Dennis Williams.
Yeah, we get that working. I just like it. We get these guests on, and they know so much about hockey nowadays, too. Also, you can just sort of transition in from stories of the past to what's happening now.
Did we mention the April 12th show coming up?
Yeah, with Tim.
Yeah.
Tim Taylor's back, assistant general manager of the St. Louis Blues.
Right. Yeah. He's going to be on the phone as he's down in Tampa with Jody. So That's going to be cool, and
Playoff
we don't need to talk about before he said it on air where he goes, I'm just grateful to be able to talk hockey. He goes, the last thing Jody wants me to do is talk hockey with her when I'm at home. So he loves coming on, so it's great, and we appreciate him coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking a few minutes, but... Halser, do you want to start about the Lincolns? They're sitting like the Warriors are, waiting for their next opponent, which is probably going to be London. But
well, the winner of that series, anyways, and it was, I think, for all the reasons that I thought Stratford had the ideal matchup, I think St. Mary's did too. Because St. Mary's, when you lose 6 games in a 50-game schedule, you tend to maybe feel untouchable, or like you just got to throw your stick on the ice and you're going to win a hockey game. But it was apparent within the first 10 minutes of the first game of this series that Waterloo was for real. And you can warn young guys till you're blue in the face, but until they actually get smacked in the mouth and find out what's what. This was a Waterloo team that won 9 of their last 11. Just to get into the playoffs. Yep. They went into the last weekend where they had to win both games against Strathroy and LaSalle. They gave up 1 goal in those 2 games. They've been so solid defensively. Chartrand has been a rock.
Turn back the clock. Eh? Turn back the clock.
And so it came out, and St. Mary's did what St. Mary's does. They came out house on fire. Vortman gets 2 goals in the first period. And everybody thinks, here we go, we're going to win 9-0 every night. And then something changed. And Waterloo scored, and then they tied the game up. And then next thing you know, the game is close. And everybody's having difficulty breathing, and their butt cheeks are all clenched up. And it's like, what's going on here? We're the 1 versus 8. But Waterloo, to their credit, they came out every single game, and they played really solid defensively. They got in their face, and they did something. They hit Spagnolo. They really targeted Spagnolo, and what emerged from that was Lincoln Moore, who suddenly showed everybody that this kid is built for playoff hockey. Yep. What an impressive series this kid had, and he would go in on the forecheck, he would finish his checks, he could win a face-off, he could play, he could kill penalties. He can do all of it, and he scored. I think he led the team in scoring as well in the series. And
it was at the late edition.
They picked him up from St. Thomas.
So for those who aren't familiar, this kid is approximately 6'3", 220.
Something like that. I think he's listed at 6'3", 210 or 215, something like that. And so then they ended up. The thing that St. Mary's people forget about St. Mary's is the goaltending. They've got these forwards, the best 12 forwards in the go. I don't think there's anybody that could dispute that. Yeah. They've got the Spagnolo, Lee Line, and Vortman, who all finished in the top 10 in scoring. They've got what we call the trade line, where they put McQueen Spence, who won the MVP of the Western Conference playoffs last year, and they put Morey on one side and Moore on the other. And that just made an incredible second line, and that turned Ryan Hodkinson into this year's version of Jordan Stahl that Pittsburgh used to have when they had the best third-line center in the league. But what you forget about is the goaltending, and that really came into effect in Game 5. After Game 4, and Razor, you were with me up in Waterloo, and it was a frustrating game to watch for a Lincolns fan. Neither team played very well at all in the first period.
I don't like that ice. I don't like that
And playing
Olympic
on that Olympic ice where you've got you need a long-distance call to find your left winger.
It's like playing on the Avon River.
It's like playing on the Atlantic Ocean.
Frankly. Like there's just the play, like when you're spoiled when you're down at the Almond because everything's so quick, right?
Well, and the St. Mary's ice, I'm told anyway, is the same square footage of ice, except for the blue lines are moved out further and has that little tiny center ice.
Right.
So when you talk about just the acreage and center ice, it is absolutely night and day between St. Mary's and Waterloo. Yeah. There is 5 acres of land in Waterloo, and so
there's actually, for those that don't know, there's actually 2 official ice sizes. So the NHL is 200 by 85, and then you've got Olympic ice, which is 200 by 100. So that extra 15 feet in Waterloo is huge. Like, it just slows the play because now you got to chase a puck and it's not tight. Well, then you throw in a third dimension, which is St. Mary's, the Almond. That's even smaller. It's 180 by about 80. So now you've even got a bigger shoebox. Dave Fair texted me. He was playing shinny out there last week, and he's like, Razor, like, how big is the Almond? Like, he goes, it just seems so small. And I said, Fairsy, it is. I said, it's smaller than NHL ice.
Yep.
So, you've got those three different sizes, but that's where it's good for Stratford, right? Where they don't have to go and, chase Olympic ice. They can just form their shield and prevent all those shots and goals from Reach and Doogie, as many as possible. But yeah, it was interesting, the difference. Now it was a great shot, not good for St. Mary's fans there in,
it was
game three.
A kind of overtime goal you hope for. It was a bad pinch, and the guy went down. It was their captain, Ben Oliver, who went down the left wing and swooped in and put one just top shelf right up in the corner.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Chartrand walks off the ice 55 saves later.
Yeah.
And Waterloo's back in the series 3-1. And this is my point with the goaltending. St. Mary's has continued to alternate their goaltenders into the playoffs as they did in the regular season. And so what you had then showing up the very next night on Friday night was Chartrand showing up 55 saves, double overtime victory, running on adrenaline. And you look down at the other end, and there's Colby Booth-Houseco. Like it was Nico Armelin in Game 4,
right,
who was third in the league in goals against and save percentage, and they decide to sit him down and bring in Booth-Houseco, who was second in the league in goals against and save percentage, and he's fresh. He hasn't played in 4 days.
Right.
And so St. Mary's came out and played their absolute best game of the series, and Waterloo did not. They looked like a tired hockey team. And the biggest part of it was the goaltender, and the fact that when it was 3-0 late in the second period, St. Mary's had just that was the only 5 minutes of the game that they didn't play well, and Waterloo had a 2-on-1 and a breakaway, and Booth-Houseco saved both of those, and they came out in the second period and just blew their doors off. Now it was 6-0, but the important thing to remember with Waterloo is that they may have been an 8 seed, and they're a very young team, but they had the respect of the building, and good on those kids, because, like I said, they were facing a far superior opponent, but they gutted it out, and they made other than that last game, they were all one-goal hockey games.
Chartrand definitely held them in. Like, he kept them at bay and frustrated, because let's face it, like, there's something going on with Spagnuolo. Like, he was not playing himself.
He doesn't look healthy to me,
he
and
doesn't.
I got no empirical evidence to prove that. But
2 assists in 5 games, he's nursing something, which... He's still, a great player, but because he wasn't playing at full pop, then all of a sudden Lee's not, right? And so...
And Vortman scored those first 2 goals of the series and didn't score again in the series.
Right.
So,
Quick question. Do we know, is KW the only Olympic-size ice in the league, or is there others?
The only one I know of.
I don't know.
London's not?
Is Western Fair Olympic or
It's
NHL?
big. It's not Olympic, though.
Western Fair does have an Olympic-sized rink. It just depends if they play on it or not.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's a big.
It's a bigger rink. It's a bigger rink than St. Mary's.
Just
I don't
like
know.
it's relevant.
I don't know
Just
that it's
wondering.
Olympic, though.
Now, Waterloo being tired, and they showed well in the first period, or the first in the series. I could see that because they've been playing playoff hockey,
Sure.
like you said, for the last 2 months.
For the last month, anyway, they've been playing playoff hockey.
And these
Because it was they and LaSalle and Strathroy and Sarnia was even there. When Sarnia got hot in the new year, they were the 4th team in there. And so Waterloo's been fighting for their lives.
Yeah, because I called that the David versus Goliath series. And, it was just so close every game.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Till
there
that
was
last
like
one, right?
up until Game 5, there was no blowouts.
No, it was
Like,
all
it was
one-goal
close.
hockey games, 2 overtime
2
games.
overtimes, 1 double overtime.
St. Mary's blew 3 2-goal leads in the series, which is disconcerting moving forward, because if you're going to play, if you thought Waterloo was tough, wait till you get a hold of London.
Yeah. And and full marks to them, because you're right, Halser, that Lincoln Moore and Ryan Cornfield are the only 2 in the top 20 scoring, and they both have 5 points. Cornfield has a goal and 4 assists, and Moore has 3 goals and 2 assists. But they've got the number 3 and number 4 goalies in the playoffs right now. Booth-Houseco is at 944, and Armelin's at 940. The only one in between them and Doogie is Casimir Wexstrom, who's got a 948 save percentage with the London Nationals, who they're probably going to run into the next round, like unless Listowel gets some goaltending and they are able to turn it
this
around.
Recording, Game 4 has probably started by now. They usually start at 7 o'clock in London.
So that London main rink is Olympic size.
It is Olympics. I knew it was bigger, but
I used to
didn't know it
play
was
there.
Olympics.
That's why I was wondering if okay.
But it didn't. The strange thing is that London, St. Mary's played London a 7-game series last year in the Western, and they were 2-1 in London.
Really? Okay.
They were 3-1 in London. They were 1-2 at home in that series, which is kind of weird.
Just a quick update with 11:50 left in the first, 0-0 Listowel London.
So
if they get into it, let's assume it's like Elmira, unless Listowel can turn it around miraculously.
The thing with Elmira, though, if we just jet to that series really quick, there's 2 guys that woke up the other night.
Yeah.
I'm kind of worried
well, they had 3
Chatham.
points each in Game 2.
Yeah. Like Martin and Delacroce, and Strauss played well the other night.
Strauss played fantastic. I watched the 519 highlights of Game 4, and he was the difference. That's a sweep.
Which he needed, because right now, the 2 Elmira goalies are the 2 worst goalies, save percentage-wise, in the whole playoffs right now.
And everybody can say whatever they want, but what's really hurting Elmira is Everly not playing.
He's the best defenseman by a mile in this league, and
everything went through
Is he
him.
hurt? Or?
Well, a cool story from Game 4 in Waterloo. We were watching the warm-up. Razor and I were standing up on top there, and I look over to my left, and here comes Coach Bradley from St. Mary's walking toward us, and I've had a couple of conversations with him over the course of the season. And he saw me, and he stopped in, and we had a great chat.
Yeah,
you were
it was
talking
good.
about Williams there on the interview. I mean, here's a guy. His team's on the ice warming up he was up. Granted, he's up 3-0, but he's in the middle of a playoff series, and he sees us, and he didn't just give us sound bites. He actually sat and had a real nice 5-minute conversation while his team was out on the ice, and he had some really nice things to say about Stratford coach Dave Williams.
Yeah,
as
he
well.
did. Very well
coached. A lot of respect there, and but he said that he had received a phone call from the Elmira head coach. I don't know his name, and they know each other because St. Mary's had played Chatham the last Friday of the regular season. And he said, "Do me a favor, like, what did you trying to get some inside poop there?"
Yeah.
And of course, Brad says, "Well, what are you worried about? You got the 3 best players in the league." And the guy came back and said, "Well, we got the 2 best players in the league." And he goes, "What?" And he said, "Everly, who's gone for the playoffs,
Right. In the
like for the
Stratford game.
season." Yeah, which is a shame because that kid is unbelievable.
Where's he in his career?
He's
That's
done.
it. He's done.
And what a way to go out.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was
I
really
hate
all
those stories.
That's all they really had to hang on to be honest with you, was their power play. That was the only chance they had in this series, frankly. And, so to see him miss time like that, you wish you're right. You hate seeing stories where a 20-year-old kid
Because
can't play the last
even with, like you had mentioned how Strauss stood on his head, and he's a rookie. He's a 17-year-old rookie. He's only got an 806 save percentage.
Yeah,
Like
he hasn't stood on his head the whole game. I'm just
No.
saying in the third period
Well, the
he
prob-
made 2
and
unbelievable
The
saves.
problem is Chatham's been lighting it up.
Well, they have, but Jacob Gibbons,
that's what
who's
they
Gibbons, who's a battalion draft pick, he's not any better at 835. And like I said to you, like they're the 2 worst goalies statistically for save percentage. But what I thought was interesting is Gibbons didn't dress in that game. They had an AP goalie up, so I don't know if he's hurt.
I don't know either.
I don't know what happened, but it was Strauss and then an AP goalie.
Yeah, Gibbons played the game before, so I wonder maybe he got hurt late in that game.
Well,
he
remember
came in
he
after
got-
Strauss.
he got run.
yanked. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
There was
yeah.
some ballyhoo going on in Game 3 up in Chatham where the goaltender got
Well, then
run.
that would make sense.
All I got from the box score was in one stoppage of play, one kid got 2 minutes for goaltender interference, 5 minutes for charging, 4 minutes for face masking, 5 minutes for fighting and a game misconduct, all in one stoppage.
Jeez.
And I thought, wow, that's
right.
That's impressive. It's tough to get
In a playoff game.
in a playoff game.
Yeah.
So ran the goalie, and there was a lot of chatter on socials about some anger there. And at the end of the day,
But
they're teenagers still, no matter how much you want to talk them up.
I just love looking at the stats, though, for Chatham. Dylan Richter, he had a hat trick and an assist on Monday night.
He's unbelievable.
Ian LaChance had 3 assists, who's a rookie. But then, they have good games. Well, then that's nullified by Joey Martin. He had 2 and 2. And Delacroix, he had a hat trick and an assist.
Yeah, the overtime goal was
the
the Hattie.
overtime goal, yeah.
They had 3 points
Feasting.
each.
Feasting.
Like, that would be entertaining
and-
to watch.
I mean, it was an overtime game, and the other thing too was that Chatham took a penalty with 1:10 left for goaltender interference again.
Jeez.
And so Chatham had to kill that penalty off, plus another 50 seconds in overtime, and then they killed it off, and then Delacroix scored about 20 seconds after the penalty expired.
But after those 2 guys for Elmira, it gets the well goes dry.
it's
Like,
pretty
you've got
slim pickings.
Brett Werlow, he's got 5 points. He's got 3 and 2, but then you've got 2 other guys, Gravel and Schwint, with 3 points, but they aren't getting enough help.
Well, there was a big drop off in the regular season.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are not bums. Don't let
No,
us talk about that.
but you've got 2 Ferraris, and then you've got some Mazdas.
like I
on
said,
the
they
other
were point a
lines.
game players, but
Yeah.
barely, like the 35, 40-point players. So, like I said, they're not bums or nothing like that. There's just a
But
big
you-
drop off.
you look
But
at-
if they did have a second line, they wouldn't have finished 7th.
Right.
you know?
But you look at Chatham, though, they've got 6 guys in the top 20 scoring. Richter, LaChance, Gillis, Campbell, and then I forget who the other, Chadwick and Truby.
And the big news there is that their regular season leading scorer, Hunt, is not one of them.
Yeah.
And so they've got they've got Van Netten and they've got Fort J. Smith. They're deep on defense. They've got 2. But like I said, that's a team with 2 very dangerous scoring lines, and they're huge.
Well,
They
and
love
what
to
I
hit.
like about Stratford's chances, too, is, A, they're sitting at home watching these guys go, so they're hoping it goes 7.
For sure, absolutely.
And then the other thing is Gannon Hunter isn't playing very well. Like, he's got a .890 save percentage. De Blasi hasn't even touched the ice yet. So I'm wondering if the coaches are like, well, we're not going to have De Blasi next year. They're probably thinking he's going to be up with Saginaw. So they're giving Hunter the go because he's a rookie at 17. So they're trying to get some mileage out of him. But he's 12th in the league. And
Not a very good approach.
Well,
No.
I would have to say about his save percentage. 2 of those games were blowouts.
Yeah.
Like one game was 7-2 at one point
And
and
it
ended
was
up
9.
9-5.
Yeah.
And so, the way it is when you
I
get up
get it.
7-2.
I get it.
You back off a little bit. You ease up your intensity. You take your foot off the gas pedal. If they were still in the game, I don't know. And that doesn't mean they wouldn't have still gotten 5 goals.
Yep.
Keeping in mind the 2 best scorers in the league are on that team.
Yeah.
Even though they're without the best defenseman, they're still got the 2 best scorers on
Like
that team.
Richter's tied for first with 10 points, 6 goals, 4 assists. And then you got LaChance at 4 goals, 5 assists. But he's got 3 power play goals. Like that, as a rookie,
it's
is
been
dangerous.
a brutal series
That's
too. There have been a ton of power plays.
Yeah.
Like there were 21 in one game. I think it was game 3. There were 21.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that's a team, another team
plays.
that pretty much reinvented themselves at the deadline.
Yeah.
Well,
They were muddling around the middle and everything, and then after the deadline, they was just
Remember
Well,
we
they-
were talking,
they-
right? Like with all their deals and getting De Blasi, and I just
Yep.
went,
Chatham?
Yeah.
This team just scares me that they
I
could
don't-
be the sleeper because they weren't in the top 5 or top 4 for a while, and then just it seemed like they were slowly coming along.
They only lost 1 game in regulation of their last 15, and that was to St. Mary's on the last Friday night. By the way, just one last note about St. Mary's. Even with the overtime loss, that is now 28 straight games that they have not lost in regulation. St. Mary's has not lost in
Crazy.
regulation
Crazy.
since December 13th,
Yep.
where?
Stratford.
In Stratford, when they
Stratford.
blew a 2-0 lead in the 3rd period. That's the last time they lost in regulation. But the only team to beat them was Waterloo, and they did it twice.
Interesting.
just an update. London just scored.
So, yeah, let's move on to that one. The
Yeah.
nice segue there, the London series. I went up and watched game 1. And I think I mentioned last week that somebody forgot to tell Listowel that the game started at 7:30 because it was 3-0 5 minutes into the game.
They were still waiting for Patty Fest to start or finish.
And the thing was, they started, is it Kawach?
yeah.
And
Watch, yep.
they started him, and I was shocked because Riley Arch was there last year watching Grimes win the Southey, and he won an award for his goaltending prowess in the regular season, and he had another good year this year. And there's Kawach in net. I'm going, what the heck what's up with that? Anyway, it's 4-0 London after one, and out comes Riley Arch for game 2, and he's played ever since.
Yeah.
The real story, and you mentioned his name, is Wexstrom, the goaltender. Went on a stretch, and I did a little bit of math between the end of the first period in game 2 and the first goal scored in game, and the first goal scored in game 3, which was in the third period, he had 71 consecutive saves. And Listowel was up 2-1 after the first period and lost in double OT. And then they were down, I think, 3-0 or 4-0 after 2 periods in game 3 before they finally scored. And Listowel only has 2 5-on-5 goals in the series. All the rest of them power play goals.
Aidan Doyle is the only one for London in the top 20 in scoring. He's got 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists, and he's only played in 3 games. And he likes to muck it up. He's got 11 penalty minutes.
And that's
so.
the one thing you're going to get out
the
of
scoring
London.
around in
Yeah,
London.
they do. Priddle's good.
Yeah.
Pomerleau's good.
Yeah. Aidan McDonald.
McSorley's good when he wants to play
McSorley
hockey.
can be good. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, we know what we have in London,
Yeah.
and they can just they will fill up the penalty box seemingly every game. And so, when you look at the team themselves, they can be problematic for St. Mary's in the next round if they get by Listowel. But the only thing that's concerning from St. Mary's moving out of the first round is the fact that they were 2 for 20 for the first 4 games of the series on the power play before they got 2 in game 5. And they were in the third period, to be honest with you, after the game was out of reach. So London will give you all kinds of opportunities. And that's why it was close. Game 1 was close. I mean, it was 4-0, and then it was 5-1, and then London literally filled the box up in the third period, and Listowel brought it back to 5-4 before London scored.
So because of we'll get into the East in a second, but because of Port Colborne and Caledonia are only at 2-2, folks, it's
Cambridge is now 2-2.
Yes.
That's right.
They tied it up last night, which I didn't think they were going to get one win.
Yeah, them and Fort Erie.
Yeah.
Fort Erie 0 for 8 on the power play last night.
That hurts. Yeah. But now, they're not even going to probably start,
a week from Friday, I think, is probably.
You can't start anything before the 2nd of April. So
right.
The second round. So.
The Game 7 in the Port Colborne Caledonia series is March 31st.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is
Game 7, yeah.
Yes. If there's a Game 7, it's March 31st. So, like I said, I would bet dollars to donuts that Game 1, if it's Chatham, probably Game 1 Thursday night up in Chatham.
Yeah.
Game 1 in St. Mary's Friday night. Not sure about the East. They're mostly Thursday night home teams there, like St. Catharines and Ayr.
Well, St. Catharines is the only team in the East waiting.
Well, they lost one. But, the one thing I got to say, go JHL, what are you doing? What are you doing? We had St. Mary's won in 5 games.
Yeah.
They've been done for 5 days. And Listowel and London are only playing Game 4 tonight.
Yeah.
I know what they did, okay? They added extra time for this series to be done because of the fact that there's no round robin.
Yeah.
But you're given 3 weeks out just so everybody can get their traditional home games. When some teams did it and some teams didn't do it. St. Mary's had a Monday night home game. In fact, they had 2 of them.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They had 2 home games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as an aside, they drew 1,200 people to both of them. 1,200 people on a Monday night. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Anyways, what's going on, Go? Why are you letting some teams do this and some teams not do this? Because like I said, St. Mary's has been off for 5 days. And they're only playing Game 4 tonight.
Yeah.
What if that goes, like I said, it's going to be 2 weeks.
So, Holly, there's no excuse for that. And you know what? It's completely unfair. And, you talked about being fair and unfair and all that. But, St. Mary's, all of a sudden, you could literally be sitting A week and a half.
It's 11 days. From
Yes, a week and a half.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's up to both GMs to make up the schedule, so they could spread it out or shorten it up as much as they wanted. So it was just ice
Waterloo. I heard
availability, right?
I heard Waterloo complaining about we've got 3 weeks to play this, and yet we're playing 3 and 4 nights to start. Well, then
What they played? They played
Friday, Sunday, and Monday.
Exactly.
Jeez, yeah.
But and it the first two make sense because St.
Sure,
Mary's home dates
sure.
are Friday and Waterloo's home dates are
Sunday.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And St. Mary's said, "Well, I tell you what, we're going to play Monday. Well, you can have Thursday. We'll have Friday back at our place." That was their thing. It's that we've got 2 home dates. Sorry, with 2 home dates on our regular day. We got 2 Fridays and you got 2 Sundays. All you got to do is last 6 games and you get 2 home games on your regular time. But like I said, Listowel and London. And so the same thing with Ayr now, who had game 4 Sunday night?
Sunday night.
And
In
game
Brantford,
5
yeah.
is until Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck, guys? Let's go here. So, 11 days off. The Warriors will have almost as many. In fact, exactly as many because they finished Sunday, right?
Yep.
And they've been done for 3 days, and they probably won't play. You assume, if all goes according to Hoyle, they'll be in Chatham probably next Thursday.
You know that rest is warranted, and that's all good, but
you're
11
really
days,
killing the momentum.
that game 1 that you guys are going to come back and the Warriors are going to come back. It'll be, you'll have to really dig in quick because you're going to have those legs that aren't in game mode.
Well, game 1 should be very interesting. Like I say, if London wins tonight, then they'll be off for 9 days too.
Yeah.
And so you'll have 2 teams that haven't played in a week and a half, and who knows what that's going to look like. But playoffs, I guess, is all about overcoming adversity, and this is a different kind of adversity, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I
usually
know-
that would be a 1-for-6 power play, but we're talking about 11 days off.
Yeah.
I know
I
this-
get what you're saying.
I know the scheduling
Gonna
in
have
the Elmira series was affected by the U Sports championship.
Yeah,
this
and they
past
complained
weekend.
about it,
Yeah.
and like, shut up, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason it was up in Elmira because the ladies didn't
They
want to play in the
applied for it.
stupid Olympic ice either.
Yeah.
So,
Waterloo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ice field just couldn't hold enough.
Oh, I see.
Columbia
Okay.
ice field can't hold enough fans.
Up in so they moved it to Elmira.
Moved it.
I love it.
Elmira bid on it.
I love that
Waterloo bid
rink.
on it.
I
They're back
love
there again
Elmira.
next year for it.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff.
it is.
So
All right.
you've got St. Catharines sitting at home with
well, they were done Friday, same as St. Mary's.
so they've got 6 scorers in the top 20. You've got Lowe tied with Richter with 10 points. Greenville, he's got 8. Duplessis has 7. Gates and Mustafi, both rookies, have 6 points, and then you got Hibbert with 5 points, who's their top D. So they're sitting at home, locked and loaded, just waiting for.
We all wish we could have played Hamilton in the first round.
Right. Well, they'll end up playing Cambridge if they are able to take out Fort Erie. But if they, or I guess they would take Brantford. Yeah. If
Brantford can finish Ayr off.
If they can take Ayr off. Yeah. So, there's a lot of moving parts at this point. You've still got Port Colborne and Caledonia. I was looking at the
What
numbers
a series.
there.
Oh, my God, what a series. That kid,
That's
Lobo,
a
scored
slobber knocker,
again.
yeah.
That 16-year-old kid, Lobo, scored again. I think he's got 5 goals.
Vasily
They can't even
Serov.
list him. They can't even list him on the leading scorers because he's an AP.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
Lobo kid.
Yeah.
And you got
So,
Vasily Serov. Just rolling it up
Serov,
there.
he had 4 points
Good
in one
for real.
game. And
Yeah.
But
Brody Coe's got 9 points in
he's
4
a
games.
beauty, man.
Serov has 7
really
points. Linz has 6, and PJ Alexander has 5.
Yep, and Lobo's got 5 goals.
It's crazy.
Caledonia is surprising me in their inconsistency. Like, it's been a total homer series.
Right.
Road team has yet to win a game in that series. So, it sure looks like one of those going to go 7 games jobbies unless, somebody can win on the road. Somebody's got to win on the road to make a difference in this series.
The thing that surprises me with Caledonia, though, like they're not getting great goaltending. Keegan Jackson, who's a 20-year-old, he's at .857 in 4 games. But then they've got, what happened to Ethan Quick? He was one of their big guns in the regular season.
Yes, he was. He was their leading scorer.
He's only got 4 points. He's played with the 67s, the Colts, and the Petes. Ryan McGuire, what happened to him? Like, he was averaging 2 points a game, and he's not even with them in the playoffs. Ethan Osborne, he's got 4 points in 4 games. Cacchiola, who they brought over from Welland at the trade deadline, he's only got 3 points. Like, their top defenseman, Douglas Najim, he's only got 2 points. Like, they need more. They're making me look bad because I had them picked to win the East, and
I'm not sure.
they're lucky. They'll be lucky to beat Port Colborne, right? Let alone win the East. So they got to really pick it up there. But
Well, and I think Port Colborne is that one team that nobody really knew. And Caledonia has the cachet from their history. And I fell into the same thing, too. I mean, I picked them in 5 games. That's not going to happen now, that's for sure, if they win the series at all. But one thing, all I can see is the extended highlights on 519. And every time I look, there's that Coe kid is out there dominating play. And if it's not him, then it's Seraph. And if it's not him, then it's Lobo. So, I mean, it's been very impressive by the offensive display shown by the Port Colborne Sailors in this round. I think the biggest shock to me is Cambridge, though.
No, I didn't give them a game.
Well, you know what? Who did? This guy sitting in this chair last week.
Jason Clark.
Jason Clark said, watch out for the goaltending. And Leonard Heisey, born in Germany. How you end up in the Go JHL when you're born in Germany, I have no idea. But this kid totally stole game 2. Played unbelievable. And then a 30-shot shutout with Fort Erie going 0 for 8 on the power play last night for them to tie the series up. Man, it's been
Clarkie,
impressive display.
Clarkie
knows,
did
man.
pick them. He did pick Fort Erie. He didn't say how many games, but he just said Fort Erie. But Dylan had him Fort Erie 4-2. Les had him a sweep. I had him Fort Erie at 4-1, and you had him at 4-1 as well. So
yeah, Clarkie, he I call him Ego because he kept waffling and all. His
the only one where he gave games, he just said that Chatham and Elmira was going to go 6 or 7 games, and that could come true. So, but
All right. So just with that, guys, we're not going to cut to break, but what we will do is just get in some of our sponsors while we're on track here. And first and foremost, we'll do SBS Metals, metal fabrication with professional craftsmanship. Stratford's preferred custom commercial and residential metal fabricator. Kathy McCann and Dennis Culleton lead the way with this great company, and encourage you to visit their social media channels to see examples of their great work, custom work fabrication. SBS Metals.
Domino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Armchair Chirpers. 2 locations at 406 Ontario and 536 Huron Street. Domino's Pizza.
And our good friends at Joe's Diner, official breakfast, lunch, and dinner diner of the Armchair Chirpers, home of the world-famous Perth County No. 4 breakfast. Locally owned and operated by the Myers family with locations in St. Mary's and Stratford.
with new menus.
With new menus.
Yeah.
About a month and a half ago, but yeah.
Brighter Vision Counselling, Psychology, and Wellness, providing compassionate and effective counseling services to individuals and families in need. They provide a safe and supportive environment where everyone can heal and grow. Brighter Vision Counselling, Psychology, and Wellness.
And the Urban Barber, located at 155 Erie Street, established in 2019, a full-service barber shop by appointment only. 3 barbers at your convenience. Full retail experience, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Bentley's Bar, Inn, and Restaurant, the official bar and restaurant of the Armchair Chirpers. 20 draft beers on tap, daily food specials, fabulous place to spend the night in their lofts or executive suite, locally owned and operated by the Bentley family.
Great people. And last but not least, Janet Lange, real estate broker out of the Home and Company office here in Stratford, Ontario, servicing Stratford and surrounding area for over 20 years. She coined the phrase, putting the real in real estate, the official realtor/broker of the Armchair Chirper. She would welcome any opportunity to have a conversation about your real estate needs.
Is it true that coining that phrase, that there's a patent pending?
It's funny you say that. We are actually looking into that. But,
There you go.
Yes. Yes, Holly. Yes, she is.
Now there's a rush at the patent office.
Back
that's
to your regularly scheduled
My
program.
sources are highly placed.
All right. Well, I think we pretty much nailed the go.
Yeah,
we did.
Why don't we talk about the Irish? Or
Well,
do-
and just really quickly, and I think that there's something to be said for the amount of information that was shared here tonight with this podcast, and just listening and not knowing what you guys know and following it as closely as you do. Like, it's so impressive, guys, to be able to share the information that you have this evening, and updating the listeners with all the stats and goings on. I think it's really valuable. So hats off to you guys. It's such a valuable asset to have everybody on this panel to be able to share that. It just shows the passion that everybody has, and it's such a great junior hockey program.
It is.
Across the west to the east. So, congratulations to the first round current winners, and we'll keep her going.
Monday we should be able to do a round 2 preview.
yeah.
Hopefully for everybody but Port and Caledonia, if they go 7, because that's Monday. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting.
See
Maybe
if we get Dylan Baker
some guys
back.
will be able to redeem themselves. Now, you picked London to upset Listowel.
that'll be 1
and
point that
you-
nobody else got, I think.
You picked,
He
what
picked
was the other one?
upset in air.
The air. Oh, we didn't talk
He
about
picked
that.
No,
Brantford.
yeah, you picked Brantford.
Brantford.
Yeah.
That's a 3-1 series. heading
Well, I tell you
back
what,
to
I
it.
just one last thought there
Yeah.
too. I mean, Brantford finally poked the bear.
Yeah.
They had 12 shots in game 4 for the game.
Wow.
12 shots. They had 2 shots in the first and 2 shots. They had 12 shots and 8 of them were in the second.
If Air comes back to win this series, I feel sorry for whoever they play next.
I tell you what, I am very motivated to go up there tomorrow night and watch them. It's a nice rink.
It is
the
a nice
North
rink.
Dumfries.
It's not a great place to call a hockey game, but it's a nice rink.
No, they put you in that, like, you feel like Dr. Johnny Fever in the little sound booth there, and yes,
Little
have a
game
good
of
hockey
Twister.
game,
Little game
fellow
of Twister.
babies.
It's a
trying
nice
to call
little
it.
road trip too. Nice, 40 minutes up there?
Yeah, and it's all back road stuff,
Yep.
so
Yep.
you
Yeah.
can take the Maplewood side road right out to the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere. It's awesome through metropolises like Plattsville, which I can make fun of because that's where my daughter-in-law's from.
There you
We
go.
can. No, just kidding. I've been there.
Yeah,
I've never been to Plattsville.
They have a
I've
Tony's
heard
famous-
about it, never been there.
They have a
Never
Tony's
been.
famous pizza. That's all that you
I'm not even sure they have a gas station.
No, they don't have anything. They had one hair salon I used to call on. Yeah, that's about it.
They did have the mother of my grandbaby, though.
There
so
you go.
So
is
the
it
place
true-
is famous.
And I know it's true. You have another one on the way.
3 weeks
Oh,
yesterday. 3
Holly.
weeks, yes.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Mama's last day of work tonight, and
Yeah.
then she's off until whenever looks like it'll be Lily arrives.
Exciting.
You're gonna catch
that's
up.
awesome.
You're gonna catch up to me soon.
Yeah, well, my third one's coming in 71 sleeps. So both kids are having grandbabies this summer, and my niece is pregnant with twin boys.
Oh,
So
man.
Christmas is going to be bedlam at the Holly household this year. Bedlam. 7 kids under 4.
It'd be like a twister went off.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do a version of Secret Santa where whoever's name draws whatever. You don't get a present; you just get a kid to mine for the day.
Awesome.
Anyways,
it.
All
Love
right,
it.
what's up?
Speaking about the Irish, so they're now up 3-1 in their series against Tilbury, waiting for, well, not only to close out their series, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but
Yeah.
over in the other side, you had Alvinston, the number 1 team all year long, lose their first game, but they've since redeemed themselves and they've come back to win the next 2. So over in Alvinston and Strathroy, they're at 2-1 for Alvinston. But with the Irish, they had a chance to really put the noose around Tilbury on Saturday night, and they ended up losing 6-5. They had a 5-4 lead going into the third period, and I heard it was the Ryan Polidori show in the third period.
I tell you what, man, that was the thing I love about Tilbury is not the drive, obviously, but the rink is just. You ever been to those rinks where it just fast ice? Do you know what I mean by
Yes,
fast ice?
yeah,
There's some rinks that have it.
absolutely.
Stratford doesn't. have that.
Yeah.
The
old
Dufferin,
rotary
the old
used to
be-
Dufferin had fast ice.
Do you know what it is actually? Like scientifically, it's called jet ice, like where the ice is
Jedi?
treated.
Jedi ice.
Jet, like it could be Jedi,
You fell for
Star
this.
Wars ice.
He said that and sat there and watched you.
I'll give you a minute, Razors.
Deadpanned you with that one.
I thought that his hearing aid was out, so
It's like taking the pizza out and holding up the platter.
Dear.
You know,
Yeah,
the puck
love
just
it.
goes out
Love
along the
it.
ice.
I just thought, is that a Jedi razor? Is that a Jedi? No, Holly, what it is? I says,
Cross ice passes go like this.
man.
But when you get like in a lot of rinks, they just take tap water, and when it freezes, it's the equivalent of when you put tap water in your ice cube tray and then you put it in the freezer. When you pull it out, the ice cubes are white and they're soft and shaly. Okay, that's what a lot of rinks are. That is crappy ice. That's not fast ice. Fast ice is where they use reverse osmosis to treat it, where it's pure. So it's like when you go to McDonald's.
We have that in our house.
Right.
Reverse osmosis.
Yeah,
And our ice cubes are clear.
Right. And so that's what
you have
the ice
jet
is.
cubes.
So the ice, at,
Yeah, I guess so.
right? So the
wonder,
ice at
yeah.
the Almond and the Rotary Complex have that reverse osmosis
Okay.
ice. What a huge difference, because if you go to Dufferin and first thing in the morning, you know, the ice has been sitting there for 12 hours.
pond
If you
water.
throw a puck, it'll end up stopping like when it hits the blue line. You do that at the Almond or up at the Rotary Complex. You throw a puck first thing in the morning, it'll slide to the other
Yeah.
end of the ice.
My snappers are Sunday mornings.
Right?
Just a little
Just a
easier
little,
off
right?
the ice, yeah.
Exactly. That's what I've heard. That's what LG was telling me.
I'm not even going there.
Polydog was saying.
Brian's just give me the side
No,
eye.
nope, nothing.
Yep.
Nope, nope, nope.
Snapshot, Holly. What were you thinking?
Nothing. I know, he's the one giggling, not me.
It's the side
just-
eye I get.
As an aside,
Yep.
there is a little science in the show, folks, each and every evening.
Right.
Thanks, Razor, for that.
So, getting back to the story,
Yes.
before I was so rudely interrupted by
Actually, I was. I'm sorry. I thought I was talking about the hockey game, but you carry on.
No. And then, so they end up losing 6-5 in Tilbury. You know, the Pekka had 2, Brulot, Palillo, and Magwood each had 1. But I heard Weir just didn't play his best game. He didn't
Well,
play
they
terrible.
got out goaltended, and it was the Ryan Polidori show in the third period. But the second period, okay, I mean, it was 2-1 after 1, and both of the Tilbury goals were bad defensive zone coverage. It was a 3-on-3. The first goal was a 3-on-3. 2 guys go to the puck. They left Sammy Banga all alone, and he walked in and undressed Weir. But the ugly one was the shorty that made it 2-1 for Tilbury when the puck went behind the net. Jake Durham got to it first, and 3 Irish chased him behind the net, and he got to the puck first and put it out front to Dylan Denemy, the league MVP, who was all alone in front of the net, and he did what MVPs do when they are all alone in front of the net. He buried one.
You know what's
So-
interesting? Here, talk about Denemy.
Well, what
Right,
I
right.
think?
Yeah, well, like, because I said to you,
I don't question his numbers or whatever. I don't see it. I
his
don't,
skating is awful.
He's
Great
a
hands, though.
horrible skater.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and no disrespect if you're listening, Denemy, but I just don't see it. There's
Yeah.
no flair. There's no
He's a big man.
He's a bull. He's
Like,
an
like
absolute
he's
bull.
got to be 240
like. He reminds
pounds.
me of Radke from Youngblood.
He is. He's
He
built
does.
like
You
him.
mentioned it, he looks like him,
Yes.
doesn't he?
Yes.
Let's go, pretty boy.
But I got to say, you give that guy time and space, and he'll make a mess of you. And he also is deadly on the power play from
Yeah.
the
Do
point.
you know what? He almost looks a little bit like player wise, and the only reason why it comes up is because it's only who I can relate to is a Jason Mervin. Like deadly 10 feet in, it's over. You're getting 100 goals in a season. But,
he's
I
so
don't know.
strong and muscular that we were even trying to decipher if he was wearing shoulder pads. Like he's just that big.
He's
and
built, yeah.
And
And absolutely no disrespect.
No,
Well, here's
no.
the thing is that, and
No.
I tell you one thing, he looked slow on Sunday, and I'll tell you why. Because of two guys, Matt Montgomery and Ray Robbins, who shadowed him everywhere he went all night long. And I thought that was the difference between Game 3 and Game 4, where he got nothing all night long. And because he got nothing, then Durham, who is a beauty of a player, he skates like crazy, he's got dangles like Magwood, but he was almost invisible because he got choked off of the supply of pucks fed to him that he normally would get from Denemy because they denied Denemy the puck.
Right.
And also Matt Henderson played, I thought, is one of his best games of the season.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Which is saying something for a guy who's widely known as one of
He's
the top
fantastic.
5 defensemen in the league.
Yeah.
But it seemed like there were
Love
6 or
that
7
kid.
times where Durham did get the puck and was streaking in on the right-hand side and ran right into Henderson, who took care of him
So-
every single time.
When you say that Robbins was shadowing Denemy, I mean, that's a nightmare. If you're trying to be proactively offensive with a guy like Ray Robbins,
And
I
he'll,
mean,
like, Robbins
it's
doesn't
over.
care. He's that much of a team player. Like, he's a former captain.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he gets the puck in the whole shift. And you saw Denemy later on in the game would just skate over to
Yeah.
a completely irrelevant area of the ice, and Robbins
Or
would go
still
stand
with
beside him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. The rest of you, I believe in my teammates because he's playing with Stokes and Palillo
Yep.
against Durham and was it Macomb they played on that line? And I like my 4 guys' chances against your 4 guys as long as I'm taking you out of this game.
Stokes, Palillo, and Robbins was a line.
Yes.
Oh, my
and that's the number 2 line.
Yeah.
But in the
That's
end,
fantastic.
first of all, Zach Weir played. That was a difference, another difference in the
Yes.
game. Zach Weir outplayed Polidori.
Yeah. Polidori was down 3-0 in 11 minutes into the first
And
period.
Tilbury, to their credit, they were about to get run out of the rink.
Yeah.
But Stratford did not. I thought they were not great in the first half of the second period, but Weir was. And
Weir,
that
yeah.
game could have been lost in the second period. And then all of a sudden, Zach Magwood. Folks, if you haven't seen this guy play,
And
get
we
your
and we
rear
go
end.
on about him. And,
Like,
and
there's a reason we go on about him.
So I want you to say what you said Monday night about that player, Magwood, about playing at the Almond.
Well, I know I'm going to hear about this, but it is my belief. I've been in this rink a long, long time, and it's my belief that Zach Magwood is the best hockey player to play on Stratford ice since Nelson Emerson.
I can't argue. He's that good. Like, and I've seen a lot of guys over my 30 years working for the city. Zach Magwood is it. And you look at him, and he's like Warren Bullock, where he doesn't.
They're built very similarly.
He does not overwhelm you with his size or anything. Like, you look at him and you're going, really, this guy? And then he just gets out there, skates so effortlessly, stick handles in a phone booth, like just so good, and vision, like his passes.
It's a complete
The backhand
package.
saucer passes over 3 sticks, sucks the ice when the puck hits the ice right onto
Just
the tape
magnet.
of Brulot or Palillo or.
And speaking of backhands, what about the goal he scored on the pass from Casey? It's about a 15 to 18 foot backhand that was so hard, Polidori didn't move.
Yeah, he had it
On the
on his
backhand.
forehand, right at the hash marks, went backhand, pulled Polidori, and then roofed it over Polidori's glove, like just under the crossbar. Like, it was an amazing
I haven't seen a
goal.
backhand like that since Paul Correa.
But as
I
nice as
don't think that's an outlandish comment, Holly. I don't. If,
Well,
if you've
they've
watched
been-
him more than one game, like if you go and see him in a game, you'd be impressed. Throw together like 4 or 5 in a row. You see.
he's worth the price of admission.
All by
and as
himself, he's
nice
worth the price of
as
admission.
nice as that goal was by Magwood,
The fourth one was better.
The goal of the night was the shorty by Sammy Banga, where he got the puck.
Oh.
That was the 3-2 goal. He gets the puck at the hash marks, and it was all at our end. And he ends up. It was like Hall's goal that night, where I'm going, he should be shooting
I'll
this.
never forget.
And what does he do? He curl and drags it around the Stratford defender. I won't say who it was. And then he comes in alone on Weir, and he goes, he freezes him with a shot, a fake shot, then goes backhand. Weir's down and out of it, and Banga just slid it in on the ice in an empty net.
And the goal he scored in the first period in Tilbury Saturday night was very similar to that one.
Like
on that 3-on-3
unreal.
breakdown, and he had all day in front of the net.
The talent with these teams is
And
Yeah.
the speed, like just the
Yeah.
speed
Yeah.
in which the game is going on. I cannot believe that. Like they were missing Winkworth and their best defenseman Jennings, and still made a game of it.
one player that we mention a lot, but we really haven't put an emphasis on for the playoffs so far is Brulot.
Yes.
What a player! What a player!
Yeah.
Every time he's out there, you see him because he plays so well, so solid, so consistent, effective. He's just that workhorse that you need for your team in the playoffs. And Graham Brulot is such a big deal for this team.
Former
Oh,
Stratford
yeah.
Culleton.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is playing. I stood in Tilbury beside his dad, he's a peach. He's a great guy, and I told him because I believe that Graham Brulot is playing the best hockey of his Ontario
looks
Super
great.
Hockey League
and
career
he takes
right now.
well because let's face it, like Tilbury's focusing on Magwood, but that leaves Brulot available, and he's like scored some big goals.
It's interesting you say that, Holly, and I think that's such a great observation because you wonder, as passionately as I just said that, it's like, how do you really define it? And I think that's exactly what it is he's playing his best hockey in this league, and it's
Yeah.
really showing.
And
Yeah.
it's just fantastic, and I don't think it's a coincidence that it is happening while he's playing with Magwood. He played with Ray Robbins in the old OG line with Stokes.
Stokes, yeah.
And they decided that they were better. The coaching staff decided that they were better swapping out Palillo and Brulot. And I understand what they're saying because Magwood needs
he needs a finisher.
He's a hardcore finisher
Yes.
and is a little more interested in going to the net. Not that Palillo won't, because he's a big guy too. But Palillo is what they also really needed was a finisher on the other line as well. So I think he just fits a little better with Magwood than Palillo does, and Palillo fits really well with Robbins and
Well,
Stokes.
and
because if he can't play with Cameron Stokes, he shouldn't be out there.
Right, but another finisher that they probably weren't thinking about is Thiessen. Like he's unbelievable,
This guy's ridiculous, man.
right? Like they pick him up.
Oh, and by the way,
this-
Oh,
Thiessen.
yeah.
Right.
And by the way, this guy who signed, the running joke is he's an Uxbridge Pioneer, but they're all Pioneers because they folded 3 games into the year. But anyways, a goal Thiessen is what we call him now after the overtime goal in game 2. It's funny, I ask young people who they remind him of, and they say Makar, and then I ask old guys who he reminds them of, and they say Coffee.
Right.
So either way, you have to get the idea exactly how this guy skates. Just for those of you who haven't seen him, I have seen him just in the last 2 weeks. I have seen him be the first in on a dump in.
yeah,
He's a defenseman again, by
Yeah.
the way. We dump the puck in. Who's first one on the puck is Thiessen. How is that a thing?
yeah,
And that he's down below the goal line. They turn the puck over. They go on a 2-on-1. And the guy gets the pass like he's going to finish. And who's lifting and stick and taking the puck away? It's Thiessen. And I'm like, wait a minute.
yeah.
Lights
Where's the
out.
teleportation machine? Because
Yeah.
there's no way he just skated back from that. He
Yeah.
skates miles.
Where did he play? Like
I don't
growing
know
up?
his. I
Yeah.
don't even know his history.
I'd have
but
to
I tell
look
you
it
what-
up, but-
But I tell you what, he walked by me after the Tilbury game, and he's a little dude.
Yeah, he's like Magwood.
No.
Well,
he's
Smaller.
30 pounds lighter than Magwood
Really?
and 3
Yeah.
inches shorter.
Okay.
Like Magwood is thick when you see him, in the street
Okay,
clothes.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Thiessen's not a bone rack or anything like, but he's a little dude. He's
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
not.
yeah.
He's not.
But
bigger than
Holly,
Stokesy,
he's
but-
like,
But he just skates
he's
miles.
just that ultimate wow factor. And folks, if you don't believe us, come down.
You're gonna be
Calm down.
spoiled. Now, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but let's say Saturday night they get by.
Oh, I hope it happens.
Okay, so if not, then they go Sunday at 5:00 in Tilbury for Game 6. But let's assume the Irish finish them off. You've got Alvinston and Strathroy. Like, folks, this is going to be an unbelievable finals. Like, if the dream matchup would be Alvinston and Stratford.
Yep.
Which is the way they met last year. Now, last year was in the semifinals.
Yes.
And then Alvinston went and lost in 7 games to Tilsonburg.
Tilsonburg, yeah.
But they could meet for all the marbles. Alvinston has never won the championship. Stratford has, Tilsonburg, Who won it? Elora.
Elora.
Right. And so Alvinston's hungry, and they got two of the best players in Feezy and James McEwen. I'm just saying, folks, you've got to come and see this. And I was telling Jamie Morris and Robbie Adair, I saw them as well at Joe's Diner, and they're fellow arena workers. And I'm like, guys, bring your kids down. Like, this is the best, and no disrespect to the Warriors, but this is like next level hockey. These guys have played in the American League and over in Europe,
everywhere,
right?
Everywhere.
Like,
they're
these guys,
Yep.
semi-pro, and it's not goon hockey. Like, it is.
It ain't your daddy's senior hockey.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
High flying.
The pace
hockey.
of the games against Tilbury is amazing, but still, if you think back a month ago when Stratford played Alvinston, and Alvinston was missing Feezy,
Yeah.
and Fryfogle, the defenseman, one of their best skating defensemen. But the pace of the game is something I haven't.
It's
I'm not sure
unreal.
I've
And Holly,
ever seen.
I was saying to Razor a few times this season, I'm like, just for an instant, Stratford's on the power play and they're at our end at the Chirper zone. Like, Stratford's whipping around that puck like a pinball machine. Like, it's just boom, 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 boom. Like, back to Henderson, over to Robbins, over to Magwood, back. Like, it's incredible hockey, guys. And if you don't believe us, come on down.
Yeah, like Feezy, in 7 games in the playoffs, he's got 22 points. He's averaging over 3 points a game. Then
which
you
is
got
what he did in the regular season.
Denemy, he's got 20 points. But then you got James McEwen, who's only played 6 games. He's got 19 points. He's over 3 points a game. But then,
in fairness, they had the 1-8 matchup, but they really beat up on Dunville.
Right,
So
right.
those numbers
So
are.
they had the Oswego.
but you got
numbers.
Robbie Schremp, Strathroy. He's leading them in scoring. He's got 13 points. He's almost 2 points a game. Robbie Schremp, 38 years old, played with the Oilers and the Islanders. And we don't get paid to be pumping, the Irish's tires, but it is really good
it's
hockey.
so much more than that. It's understanding like where this league started to where it is now and the sheer amount of talent. And we're not trying to sell you on a 38-year-old Robbie Schremp. He's an asset. He's a performer. It's great.
But he's not the best player
But
on his
he's
team.
not the best player on his team.
And Jamie McQueen is the best player on his team, and then Brandon Buck is
The goalie.
one of the
The
best finishers.
best-
And they've got Evan DeBrouwer is the best goalie in the league.
The
Yeah.
best players in this league are lights out.
Yeah, like,
Yep.
Like,
they really
incredible.
are. They really are. Like a lot of these guys, like we said, playing in the American League. These guys were almost in the show.
Yeah.
Some of these guys,
Yeah.
like, it is that good a hockey. So
And there are some who are naysayers to this league, and to them I'll say this. You're right. There's a lot of dumb stuff that happens in this league during the regular season. A lot of dumb stuff. This year was probably the worst collectively for dumb stuff. I won't bother getting into specifics. I think if you follow the league at all, you know what I'm talking about. But it has culminated in probably, I'm not even sure it's the best set of semifinals, because last year was so amazing when Tilsonburg and Tilbury met in the semifinals, did the reverse sweep. Tilbury goes up 3-0. Tilsonburg wins 4 in a row.
that was crazy.
The Stratford-Alvinston series from last year was
Went to
absolutely
7.
nuts. It
Oh,
was
my
6 games of
God.
absolute insanity.
Alvinston brought 2 busloads of people.
Culminating in 1,300 people at the Almond for
Yeah.
Game 6, and
Yeah.
it was what an absolute circus. And when you do all the ads at the east end of the barn,
Yeah.
and 1,300 just pack right into
Yeah.
this place, and then you go up to Alvinston for a game, and I like. It was hostile,
Oh,
environment.
yeah.
It reminded me of being in Toronto in the playoffs, wearing my John LeClair jersey for a Toronto-Philadelphia playoff game, and I was vilified in that room.
Right.
And I was wearing my Irish gear in Alvinston, and I felt more worried there
Yeah.
because at least there's security in Toronto.
Yeah.
Right?
But there is a bunch of dumb stuff that the league does some dumb things. The players do dumb things in the league. But now that we're in the semifinals, the level of hockey, you just have to forget about all that and just get a ticket and sit down and watch the game. And if you can't get a ticket, you can watch Trey Hamilton and myself on Sportfeed call the game. It's not the same thing, but this is just hockey.
Trey's amazing.
He is. Isn't he
guy.
amazing?
Yeah.
You just have to come and watch this hockey. Take my word for it. And if you're not satisfied, come and talk to me after the game, because I'll try. I'll talk to Mo about getting you a cheap ticket for next game.
Because you're gonna have to come back.
Honestly, I hope both the Warriors and the Irish can go deep.
2 years ago, right? When the Irish won and the Warriors went to the Southie final, man, there was hockey being played right into May in the Willie, man.
And it was like we're down there every other night.
We're down there 3 or 4 days a week, right?
That was amazing.
So,
that was an amazing.
Les and I are both on the radio with Jamie Caudill every week talking about that. Jamie's excited about it too, really pumping the tires. It's just
you guys are doing a great job.
It's just a fun time.
I went in
to
and
be a
did
hockey
in
fan.
studio this week because I was off Friday, and then
showing me up, right?
K-Fel pulls
right?
me into his studio too, so I did one for him too. It was
Nice.
Les showing me up. I'm doing this stupid phone interview.
Right?
I usually do it by phone too.
From
but I
a
had to
corner
off.
of my work of the warehouse. Just wait till I get a quiet.
Where's Holly? Where is he?
He's in a quiet spot hiding.
Brian taking a piss again? Or what?
Yeah.
He's out for a cigarette break. He doesn't smoke.
I've taken up smoking just for the playoffs.
Demorier, extra mild.
The little green death.
That's what Ange
The
used
old
to
Ange
smoke.
Nigro green
Oh
death.
my God.
Oh, I love it.
Well, I think we got it, guys.
Yeah.
That was a fun one.
28th anniversary of the fight night, Joe.
Yes. Yeah, that
And,
was.
what was
that, sorry?
28th anniversary of the fight night at the Joe.
With the
Colorado
abs
okay.
and the
Nice.
wings.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's going to be
Claude
on.
Lemieux,
That was
all the boys. So
That was, yeah. All right. Happy opening day tomorrow, boys.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Baseball
thanks
back.
to everyone for tuning in on our makeshift Wednesday edition. Shit happens.
Yeah,
It's all good.
exactly. Really appreciate all the kind words and understanding. And it was flattering. Guys were saying, man, I was really looking forward to your review of the Go and the Irish. And so, folks, thank you. It's very humbling that people take time out of their busy lives to actually listen to us. And we're very grateful and always appreciative.
All right. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. Just start the conversation.
And please be sure to follow us on our social media channels at Instagram and Facebook. We add to those channels quite a bit and just keep you updated and future guests. And just be sure to mark April 12th on your calendar. We're going to have assistant GM of the St. Louis Blues, Tim Taylor, calling in by phone for a little playoff preview. So we're really looking forward to that. It'll be his third time as a guest on our show. So we're another thing we're pretty proud of. So take care, everyone, and thanks.
GM of the hottest team in the NHL right now.
Right.
All right.
Salut.
All right.